You're listening to the Back Porch Talk podcast. Danny and Jason had many discussions and debates on the back porch while making pivotal investment moves with assets. That's right, with trading cards. They welcome you to the back porch and right into those discussions about current sports news with a fresh and unique twist. So come on and join us. Welcome to the Back Porch Talk podcast. I'm your co-host, Jason.
Co-host, Danny.
Fans, we got a full show for you today. First, a little NFL. Major League Baseball wraps up. We have a title winner. We have a champion. And then a little bit about NBA basketball and then Formula One and some. But first, Danny, right into the NFL where I'll just say this, man. Green Bay Packers took another L at home against the Detroit Lions. I had a feeling this was going to go the way of the Lions. The way that they have just been playing, they're together. They're on a mission, and Jordan Love goes 23 for 39 for 273 yards, an interception, eerie familiar to an interception the previous week. Jordan Love usually comes on in the second half of the season. Being now 6-3 against the Detroit Lions being 7-1, I don't see the Detroit Lions slowing down. I see them going for the number one seed in the conference with hopes of getting that first round bye. And keep in mind that this was a rainy game, but this was the first outdoor game for the Detroit Lions, and they just have it right now. Detroit Lions just have it. And in the NFC, I don't see any other team other than possibly the Eagles that can really contend with the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff goes 18 for 22, 145 yards, and one touchdown, manages the game, doesn't turn the ball over. Very efficient. David Montgomery, 17 carries for 73 yards. Gibbs, 7 carries for 65 yards. You have a two-headed running monster. I would love to see the second game in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Usually inter-division rival. To me, they always go 1-1. Who better to know you than the division rivals? What say you, Danny, about this Green Bay Detroit Lions game?
That Jordan Love interception was huge, man, because that was right before the half.
Mm-hmm.
And that put Detroit up 2 scores. But
Mm-hmm.
Gibbs and Montgomery are doing their thing. Amon-Ra, scored a touchdown. But their defense stepped up, and they actually made a move today at the NFL trade deadline by picking up Zadarius Smith. That will help fill the hole that with Aiden Hutchinson being out. So possibly if he were to make it back for the Super Bowl, that's a stretch goal, but that's something they mentioned when he first got injured. So they actually bolstered the defense. I was just curious why they took so long to do this. If they knew they were going to do it anyway, why not do it earlier to kind of acclimate him a little earlier? But Detroit did what they needed to do. All in all, man, Detroit looked strong and took care of business on the road.
Your Falcons did the thing against the Dallas Cowboys. This was no surprise, man. Dallas Cowboys, and this is no shade against the Falcons. Dallas Cowboys is just struggling, man. I don't think they just can't. There's a whole lot going on in Dallas. I am, for one, happy that the Cowboys are not going to be in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The way their schedule is set up, they ain't going to the playoffs. It's just too much happening in the NFC. Too many teams in the NFC for the Cowboys to even overtake. I mean, the way I look at it, you have a couple of teams in the NFC North. You have obviously the NFC South. You still have the NFC East. I mean, NFC South, to me, you have the Falcons,
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who many said should have won the game last night. had they gone for a 2-point conversion against the Kansas City Chiefs. But you still have two teams there. Then you still have the Eagles and Washington Commanders. And oh, by the way, you still got team or two out in the West. So the Dallas Cowboys season to me is done. The fat lady is tuning up. Is warming up the voice because she's about to sing.
Yep.
But your Falcons nonetheless took the game, man. Kirk Cousins, 19 for 24, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, very efficient game. Dak Prescott gets hurt due to his hamstring. Cooper Rush comes in to relieve. But nonetheless, man, the Cowboys are considered the most valuable sports franchise in the U.S. But who cares? They're not going to get a whole lot of play on this podcast. We'd rather give that to the Green Bay Packers and then ultimately to the Falcons. Danny, what say you about your Atlanta Falcons?
They fed Bijan Robinson the ball. Early and often, Bijan has 7 receptions. He ran for almost 90 yards. And watching the game last week where the Cowboys were facing the 49ers, Atlanta took a page out of that playbook and ran the ball. And when they needed to, Kirk Cousins made a play. As always, Atlanta always likes to make it interesting, even though Dak got knocked out of the game. His hand, too, man. They showed his hand, his thumb. It was swollen and busted. So that may also play into this. But Atlanta did hold on to win 27-21. Mooney had a great game, 5 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. And also CeeDee Lamb got hurt, so that's another thing on the Cowboys side, his shoulder. So it looks like he's week to week. So not sure. It seems like an AC joint sprain or something. But from our standpoint, we do have the Saints this week 10, and I think it's a trap game. As always, like you mentioned about the division games,
Mm-hmm.
you just don't know what's going to happen. And we're on the road. It's a game we should win. Chris Olave got knocked out last week of the game, so he will not be playing. I don't even know if Olave is coming back after that concussion. Marshawn Lattimore got traded today to the Commanders, and he's usually one that gives fits to our receivers. So this is a game we should win, but they still have Alvin Kamara. They still have Taysom Hill, who, for whatever reason, gives us fits, gives us problems. So we'll see what happens, but it was a big win that we needed to stay atop of the NFC South.
And then I got to give a special report on a team that we typically don't talk about. It was a team that I, growing up, was a fan of. But upon going to college, it was like you have to represent where you're from. And so I represented the Green Bay Packers, and ironically enough, we won the Super Bowl. The team that I followed along the Green Bay Packers was that of the Tennessee Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tennessee Titans actually wins this game against the New England Patriots, the lowly New England Patriots, 20-17. Mason Rudolph goes 20 for 33 for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Have Tony Pollard carrying the ball, man, 28 times for 128 yards. And they go against the New England Patriots, who are 2-7. Tennessee Titans getting their second victory. And I'll just say this, Danny. I think this is a rebuilding opportunity for both teams here. Calvin Ridley, 5 receptions for 73 yards. But I think this is a rebuilding effort for both teams here. We'll see what happens, but definitely wanted to bring to light a team that we rarely talk about, and also wanted to give props to your brother, who I'm pretty certain is loving this talk about the Tennessee Titans. You lucky. You lucky because y'all was about to lose that game. And if y'all did not win this game, boy, you best believe we've been talking about your Tennessee Titans, but nonetheless, man, y'all have prevailed. And nonetheless, you all get the victory. What say you, Danny, about these Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, at the end of that game, Jason, Drake May scrambled like Jane Daniels did the week before against the Bears, where Jane Daniels threw that Hail Mary. Drake May did the same thing, but he was in the red zone. And he ended up throwing a touchdown with no time left. But the question was, and it was across the NFL this week, why didn't you go for two? What did you have to lose for New England going for two? Same thing last night with Tampa Bay. Why didn't you go for two? You're on the road. What do you have to lose? And the Patriots elected not to, and Tennessee in overtime kicked the field goal, ended up picking Drake May off when New England received the ball. And that was that. It was, like I said, it was across the NFL, man. There were a couple close games
Mm-hmm.
where why don't you go for two? Seattle, the Rams, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Tennessee did prevail in that game, and actually, they tuned into that game once the Falcons game finished. So I did get to see it live and
Mm-hmm.
see Drake May scrambling all over the place to get that end of session touchdown. So we'll see next week and going beyond if some of these coaches make a pivot and try to go for two, especially for teams that really don't have much to play for.
Mm-hmm. And now, Danny, on to the World Series in Major League Baseball, where the LA Dodgers prevail, man. They go ahead, win this game, the last game, 7-6, game number 5. And I would just say this, man. This was a historic game of errors. Errors in the fifth inning, man, just piled up. And really, the Yankees had this game won. I mean, it was 5-0 going into the fifth. And the top of the fifth, man, that's where, I mean, you had drop fly by Judge. I mean, not covering in the bag between uh,
Rizzo,
Rizzo,
yep.
man, Cole. I mean, and the third play at third base. I mean, it was just a whole lot of errors, man. And the Yankees had this game won. This could have gone to a game 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it could have gone to game 6 easily. But you have to give the LA Dodgers a lot of credit here. Credit for sticking to it. They really gritted this game out. In a lot of the games that the Dodgers have played in the playoffs, there's been home runs. This one did not have a home run by the Dodgers. They gritted this game out based upon the errors, based upon the walks, based upon the singles, doubles. They win a championship on the road. And man, Freddie Freeman just crushed it this World Series in this postseason. And he comes away with the MVP. Mookie Betts, this is his third title. Otani, his first World Series title. Freddie
Mm-hmm.
Freeman's second World Series title. I mean, the place was rocking, Danny. I mean, you had Judge who finally broke out of a hitting slump, hits a home run. Chisholm hits a home run. Stanton hits a home run. I mean, the place was rocking, man. And they couldn't seal the deal based upon the air, based upon the fielding, based upon um, base running. And so this was just all around game that, quite frankly, the Yankees fumbled. And the Dodgers comes away with another victory. And I have to say this, Danny. You talk about a winner. Man, Magic Johnson just continues to win no matter what he does or where he goes. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing a post, an illustration, and or an image, and they talked about how many championships that Magic Johnson has. He has 15 rings. he has 10 as a player and owner for the Lakers,
Yep.
one as a player, Michigan State, two as an owner for the Dodgers, one as an owner of the LA Sparks, and one as an owner for the Los Angeles Football Club, MLS soccer. And he just continues to win, man. This is a far cry from, when we thought it was a death sentence years ago when he came out, had to retire from basketball as a player, HIV, when you mentioned that news conference that everybody knows about.
Mm-hmm.
But for him to stay on, to be still here with us, and man, he just continues to win. You kidding me, man? 15, and they're not slowing down anytime soon. Otani's gonna get stronger. You think Otani's gonna have another playoff run? Not hitting the ball like this. You think he's gonna have another one of those? No, I doubt it. Mookie Betts, you kidding me?
Yep.
Freddie Freeman, you kidding me? I mean, the LA Dodgers lineup is loaded. Yeah, and the Yankees, I think, they're going to have to reshuffle some things. The big question is Juan Soto. What's going to happen with him? Garrett Cole, he initially opted out the contract. Now he opted back in.
Yep.
But I think the Yankees are missing another pitcher here.
Agree.
And they need another hitter who could get them some hits. Doesn't have to be home run. You need someone who can just get them some hits consistently. So we'll see, Danny. What say you about this World Series?
Man, Jay, that fifth inning was that's one I'll never forget. You talk about, like you said, with Judge hit the home run. I was like, uh-oh, Dodgers. If he gets going, y'all may be in trouble. And it would look that way until the fifth inning. But even after the fifth inning and all that happened in that inning, the thing that got me was they kept Cole in the game. And Cole in that fifth inning was gassed. You could see it. He was tired. And he was probably PO'd too because of all the stuff that was going on. Where he could have been out of that inning. He should have been out of that inning clean. But they kept him in, and the Dodgers tacked on a couple other runs. They won 7-6. So it was a huge missed opportunity by the Yankees because based on that game 6 would have been tight. And if it would have went to 7, they would have had a shot to beat the Dodgers because it would have been all the pressure on the Dodgers, I think, from that perspective. But congratulations to the Dodgers. Freeman had an epic World Series, one for the ages. He was a part of those clutch hits in that fifth inning. And I look at the Dodgers too, man. I think they also need to get an arm or two because their pitching staff is not the greatest. But they have that offense that can back them up, and they did enough, to get this World Series. So I'm not saying they're terrible or anything, but I just think they need another arm or two in the offseason to prepare them for next year. And like you said, too, Ohtani was off. He was off in this series, but they had everyone else step up. And as far as Magic Johnson is concerned, man, he's a part of the Commanders group too, right? And what are the Commanders doing right now? 72. And it's one of those things, man, sometimes culture is overlooked. And not to say that Magic's having like his profound impact on the Commanders or whatever the case may be, but he's a winner. And that's what he expects. And the Dodgers should actually have more rings. They blew a couple too over this time span. So this may be something. It could become a dynasty, man, if they keep this together. They have some high salaries over there, but they're willing to pay. So congratulations to them, and we'll see what the Yankees do in the offseason by getting Garrett Cole back. That was a great move right off the top. And now, like I agree with you, man. They needed another bat, like a spray hitter type. So those type of moves they need to do in the offseason, and they'll be right back at it. If they have Judge, Stanton, and, well, it depends on Soto. because Soto is a big piece,
That's
and
the issue.
and he being left-handed in Yankee Stadium, he's destroying destroying those home runs. So they need to make him a priority.
And just want to remind you here too, Danny Otani, who has pitched, he was injured obviously this year, didn't pitch, so that may be another
Hmm.
possible arm, you know, to come back here. And then also, I'll say this: the way Otani's contract is set up, I mean, he's going to be getting paid for years and years to come, even after he retires. So, um, I think the Dodgers have every opportunity to get a couple another arms here from top to bottom. So we'll see. Real quickly, Danny, we gotta talk about the Milwaukee Bucks who are struggling, man.
Hmm.
1-6 right now. They just had a couple of games against the Cleveland Cavaliers. This last game in where they lost 116, 114. Giannis did not play this game, and so the young Bucks stepped up, man. Green, Jackson, Rollins, I think had some valuable minutes. And what I think here, Danny, is this the showcase of young legs. I saw some spring, I saw
Hmm.
some hops, just some lively legs, and I think uh, Doc's going to have to go with some of these young legs. They didn't know what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. I didn't see any offensive sets. Saw a whole lot of one-on-one ball, especially with Dame. He was in his bag, but at the same token, I mean, the ball wasn't moving. I don't know about these Milwaukee Bucks. And then now reports are that Middleton is out indefinitely, hasn't had any 5-on-5 contact yet. I think with Middleton, this could be another, what, 10, 15 games,
It
possibly
could
20
be.
games. So he could
Hmm.
miss like a good quarter, more than a quarter of the season here. And by that time, the question is, will the Bucks be even relevant?
Hmm.
Uh, could they be in a position to even go a notch up? I don't know. I don't think so. At 1-6 right now, I don't see this team. I see the team getting better. I see that making, trying to figure out, okay, let me just throw the kitchen sink at this. Let me play some of these young bucks to see who could possibly replace Middleton. I
Hmm.
think they knew Middleton wasn't going to be where he needed to be before this game. And I think Doc just said, okay, we just want to go and all hands on deck. What say you, Danny, about these Milwaukee Bucks?
Jason, if it's any consolation, it is the Cavaliers who are 8-0. And I look at it as one of these things, they are starting off really slow. and, and the last night they should have won that game. There was no excuse for them to blow the game like they did because they had that game in control and just fell apart at the seams at the end of that game. Uh, and I look at it like, okay, you're 7 games in. The aura around the team is not great. There's whispers here and there, with things and how people are feeling. But the Middleton news, it hurts them because if he does come back, now there's more time. You got to integrate him into the lineup. So you hope it's not too late. Uh, but at the same time, he will have fresher legs too because he hasn't played. Right? It's just getting him in shape. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious how long he is going to be out. If it's going to be one of these things where he comes back, say like after Christmas or something like that, bring him back at that time ahead of the All-Star break. But all in all, I look at it as tough losses, uh, guards eating you alive still on the defensive end, and those are things that can be fixed. Just a matter of now. Let's see what Doc Rivers can do and his staff to make adjustments to win these games they should be winning, especially when you have a lead like you did last night. Um, so the only consolation, like I said, is they were playing the Cavaliers. They had a back to back with the Cavaliers, and they were right there with them. And Giannis didn't even play last night.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. They have Utah coming up, so at home. So get some home cooking and hopefully start turning this thing around.
But Danny, just as you say that, looking at the Bucks schedule, like you said, they have Utah next, but then they have Knicks, Celtics, Raptors, Pistons, Hornets, Rockets, Bulls, Pacers, Hornets, Heat, and then Wizards, and then Pistons. And that takes them to December 3rd. I'll just say this, man. All those teams are young teams, vibrant legs, springy ball movement. This is going to be a true test, and it was good that Doc played these young Bucks, man, because they're going to be needed in this stretch. So we'll see what happens here, Danny. On to some Formula One, Danny, where in Brazil, Max Verstappen wins. He started 17th on the grid, ultimately wins in a heavily rained Grand Prix. And basically, man, this solidifies Max for being the champion for the season. He's going to win, and this is going to be his fourth time winning. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, moving forward, especially next season, and how Formula One shapes up with Sir Lewis Hamilton going over to Ferrari. But Max is going to win the championship, man. And I'll just say that Alpine, with Ocon and Gasly finishing the way that it did, boosted Alpine into the Constructors' Cup standings, potentially getting them $50 million in their pockets. That's a lot of money. You can see the excitement. I think I'll be excited too. $50 million coming to the team, and then I'll possibly get a good chunk of it. So, congratulations to Alpine, but not a Max Verstappen fan, but I gotta give credit where credit is due. Congratulations to Max for winning the championship here.
Thank you for joining us at Back Porch Talk Podcast. You can also join us on Twitter by tweeting us at @back_podcast. For more information, you can go to our website, which is backporchtalkpodcast.com. You can also email us at backporchtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Again, thank you for joining us, and remember that there's enough hate in the world, so go ahead and spread a little love.